It is generally accepted that humans are the most advanced species on Earth. With civilization, industry, and agriculture to sustain billions of sapient life forms, humanity has surpassed benchmark after benchmark for innovation, exploration, and resourcefulness. What if I told you, however, there was a being so advanced, so influential, that man's greatest accomplishments could be traced back to it? There is a growing movement of people claiming a superhuman being lives among us and, while it is purported to look like us, is claimed to surpass us in every way. But why us? Why here? Why now? What knowledge is to be found behind the ancient, mysterious, classified superhuman, the Elon?
What we need to understand is we're working with an entity that, by definition, is unknown. This is a creature that is very difficult to pin down throughout history. Until now.
Experts were flabbergasted to discover images of an entity similar in appearance to this fabled Elon showing up throughout all of human history, and possibly beyond.
I mean, really, we're living in a world here where almost anything is possible. It's as if everything we knew about the world and the entire universe entirely collapsed in on itself.
Evidence of events transpiring the world over can be found throughout the entire coffee table of Jimothy Swain, GED. To understand the history of this spiritual enigma, we must turn to our own history.
You see, what we know and what we don't know is entirely based on what we can see or not see. And in my entire lifetime as a researcher, well, it's pretty obvious to me that the Elon has left some mark on this world.
We can't deny that we are seeing, we're seeing a pattern. This is not to say that it goes one way or the other, but we are seeing a pattern.
But was there any way to prove for certain that the Elon even existed in the first place?
This was not a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention to the history. Obviously, there's going to be evidence of some creature of this kind. We all knew it.
Look, anything like this would be, honestly, would be a surprise in terms of history, I suppose. The evolution of man, it's just, there would be a big gap between where we are now and where this Elon is.
Could it be that the Elon has been a part of our culture from the beginning?
The Elon really starts showing up in ancient archaeological history. That much is pretty clear.
Seen lots of kind of stick figures. We'd seen lots of heads and arms and legs, but we had never seen something this detailed. In fact, it almost seems like quasi photographic, almost like a daguerreotype. It is a depiction that we hadn't seen before, and what's interesting about it is there is no proof around the site that there are any tools that somebody could use to even create this.
It all makes sense, really. The Elon is absolutely what we expect it to be, and at the same time, a total mystery. We know nothing, yet we're so fascinated by everything.
While the evidence does seem to point toward the existence of some sort of immortal creature, there remains a fair share of skeptics in the community.
There are some patterns, perhaps, or some coincidences, but there are no clear signs that any such being or species has developed or evolved.
While some experts balk at the dubious claims made by the layman, others have ventured out to find the truth for themselves.
I have researched the Yvonne for most of my life, and, well, it really did start on an archaeology dig out in New Mexico, back in, I believe it was in 1973.
It was here, in the desert of the American Southwest, where history was made. In 1973, explorer and archaeologist K.W. Johnson uncovered clear evidence of what could have been the country's first hard evidence of the Elon.
Hello to my fellow researchers. It is currently July 8th, 1973. We are here at the dig site where we've been working for the past 10 months or so. We've uncovered some artifacts here that I am documenting for the sake of science and for the sake of the safety of our research. So we're going to take a look at some of these now and film them. So we start with what appears to be a tool of some kind, clearly buried quite deep in the dirt. Quite modern tool as well, which is quite unique. Hopefully this isn't quite an error. There is also, as you can see, elements of stone here. Perhaps that's stone used by whatever creature was living in what I can assume is perhaps a den. We also do find a full pair of jeans, which I guess I can't really explain, but it is certainly interesting regardless. The next one obviously is quite unique. I really have no clue what this is, but it appears to be a fun family action comedy. And then of course lastly the item with most information. We did find this book, of course. The most interesting part about it is not just what's in it, but what we were able to find, which is this note. Turn around.
The dig uncovered a potential Elon den, where the being left the most tangible evidence in history. Mysteriously, Johnson woke up later that day, finding all the evidence removed from the scene.
What we found on that day really does worry me. You see, I hadn't seen anything like this before, and I guess you could have called me a skeptic at the time, but now I'm pretty convinced. It doesn't take an archaeologist or a biologist to tell you that the Elon is real. It takes all of these books and a mind like mine.
Shrouded in mystery, the existence of the Elon seems to raise as many questions as it answers. What is the Elon? Is it a force for good, an agent of evil, or chaos incarnate?
Another disturbing depiction of this, of this Elon character, comes to us from a little bit of a depiction, albeit a post facto depiction of the Black Death. But this figure seems to actually be in a very good mood. This figure seems to have no compunctions with either, it almost seems like maybe he's spread this. I mean, if you look at this, he looks very well in a time of lots of sickness, has no trouble being close to the ill. Is he immune? Is he some sort of outsider? But lately, when people have been looking for the patterns, people have been digging these up and noticing that there is this figure in the foreground that nobody has noticed before, who has flown under the radar.
Oh, this? This is just some of my art. I like displaying it.
Far gone are we from the ancient days of early man, the savagery of feudal power struggles, and tales told by candlelight. However, the mystery of the Elon remains close by, even in the modern era.
You look at modern day, and there's such clear evidence of Elon being prevalent throughout all these historical events. I mean, it's just obvious. The Elon, of course, has been right under our noses this whole time. I mean, we start here with the Lincoln assassination, and obviously this is a primary source documentation that we have here, this image. If you look very closely, well, as a matter of fact, you don't have to look too closely because it's actually pretty clear. The Elon is standing there at the time of the event, located in the area. Now, researchers like myself and others in the community do find this a little suspicious, because of course, what could Elon have been trying to influence here?
Now this next image is also very interesting. Given that it's black and white, it's very difficult to tell who exactly is in this photo. Some would say that it looks shockingly like this Elon that we saw, that we've seen in these other photos, that we've seen in these other depictions. I would say it's someone with dark hair waving in the background. This could easily be one of Stalin's confidants. It could be Vladimir Stoprzyetsky. It could be the fabled Dingle, as they would call him. It could be anyone. It could be the coal miner's son who came to Stalin famously during this period, during the mining period, if you will. There's lots of people that this could be, but it does bear striking resemblance to this Elon.
We know very clearly, very confidently, that there's evidence of the Elon present during the John F. Kennedy assassination, because we do have this proof. If you do look at this image, you can tell quite clearly that the Elon is present, not only present, but active, engaged, and some in the community do even mention that the Elon is happy that John F. Kennedy is dying.
What we see in this image is, of course, famously the moon landing, contentious part of our history. What this new angle, this new shot, if you actually look, kind of in, I think it's about in the foreground, if you look carefully, you're actually going to see a shape of what looks like a human, a man, and we're seeing this image all over, and who's to say necessarily what it is? I mean, it's certainly somebody with a head and two arms and two legs.
There's undeniable proof. The proof is undeniable.
Look, we all want something to be true here. This Elon conspiracy, let's call it what it is, it's just not compelling. There's really so many holes. I mean, it's like Swiss cheese. There's really we have some photographs that have been slapped together. I just don't see these as being, is that proof that we have a bunch of pictures of a guy on the moon landing that we've never seen before? This is a new angle we were looking at it. It seems like a bunch of bullshit. It seems like a bunch of f***ed up bullshit. As Jesus Christ, this is completely false. Anybody who says this is real is f***ing insane.
Well, I've never worked in the biology field. I've definitely read all of these books, some of these books, and I think about this every night.
Whatever the Elon is, we intend to explore it in excruciating detail, every possible trace of it throughout history. Any smudges on a fridge, any toast crisped for too long, and any vaguely dark-haired, thin, tall men in the cataloged universe.
You would have to be a grade A sucker to believe any of this stuff. See this? This is a fucking fossil, right? This is fossil evidence, okay? This is something tangible, right, that we uncovered using a brush. Unless you can give me something like this, I don't know if I'm gonna believe any of this.
The Elon is provable. It's real, and we know this. This is fact. I'm not any kind of sucker, actually, because I did have a doctor prove that, so.
Can we coexist with the Elon? Or is it our imperative to hide and cower from its awesome power? Look to your left. Now to your right. How certain are you of the identities of those you hold dear? For the rest of us, there is the Elon.
This is the Gospel of Elon, and it goes, well, Cheeto twins, I need you to know that the Elon is real. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair!